Hey, how's everybody? Ooh, that's you can see that. Hold on, let me change the shot there. Thank you so much for coming over from the Mark Thompson Show or for being here on the Nikki Maduro Show. I really appreciate it. I'm Kim McAllister in for Nikki Maduro, and of course, Nikki has taken the trip to Southern California in the driving rain and the sleet and the snow. I haven't heard from her, but I'm hoping that she made it there okay. Hopefully, she'll check in during the show for a little bit more on how the ride down. She was going the coastal route on 101, so hopefully she made it okay without a lot of trouble. I do want to say that I've been so excited today by so many amazing pictures from you guys about snow and what you've been seeing. And it kind of turned into this a little bit of a competition over on the Mark Thompson Show. But I wanted to, as we kind of get more weather over the weekend and people are out taking pictures of all of it, I thought it'd be a great time to bring on Jefferson Graham. Of course, he is an amazing photographer. Has a lot of tips about what you can do with the iPhone. So we'll get to him in just a moment, but I also want to tell you that we'll talk to Clark Reid, formerly of KGO, about tech stuff, and Tim Sica, always one of my favorite movie reviewers and my favorite segments on the show as well. So right now, let's bring on Jefferson Graham. Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay, I got my coat on because it's a little cold today.
It is a little chilly.
Yeah,
That is true.
And I work in a garage, so it's even
Oh,
colder.
that's your garage?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a garage, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Looks
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you.
My garage does not have drywall.
Oh, well.
It's not looking good.
I had it put in. Yeah.
Speaking of garages and vehicles, etc., I was thinking about you while I was sitting in my car last night, and I pulled into the driveway and the rain started coming down heavily. And the minute we have the spotlight on our garage door, like above it, so that the minute that someone moves in a certain area, the spotlight comes on. It clicks off in a few minutes, whatever, but it kind of illuminated all of the raindrops on my windshield and it looked like 1,000 diamonds. And I thought, I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to show it to Jefferson Graham. And no matter how many pictures I took of it, I could never quite get that, how sparkly it was, how just, wow, it looks like 1,000,000 diamonds. So I was going to ask you, what could I have done better here?
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Light throws the iPhone, and I assume you were using an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
It throws the iPhone off and drives it crazy. So what I would have done is taken the picture without that light shining and get in close to some of the drops, which you could have easily done just moving the camera around. You
But
get what I'm
wasn't
saying?
it the light making the drops look sparkly?
But you still would have had it without the light screwing up the automatic sensor, which was trying to expose for the light and making spots. So I think you could have done it. Well, I mean, I would have tried it all. That's like my number one photo tip is to do everything. So take your wide shot, take your ultra wide shot, take your close up, move left, right, top, bottom, you name it. Keep on trying until you get it right. Now I'm just speculating that a close up would have been the shot, but I could be wrong. But that's the beauty of doing it, is that you see it immediately. Some of us who grew up with film had to wait a while, and you don't have to wait at all.
No, it's cool, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing is I would have stepped outside too, because your phone is water resistant and it's great to get wet. It's great to get wet, and you can get some really wonderful shots in the rain. I did a whole video on it once with just the fun of photographing in the rain and jumping in puddles and doing things that you would never do with a camera of, a big camera.
Right. Okay, so let me thank you for that tip. I'm going to try it again tonight because it's going to be raining. So I'm going to go back out and I'm going to do your tips and see if it works. But I wanted to show you some of the pictures that were sent in to the Mark Thompson Show today of people taking photos in the snow. And if you want to comment on what they could have done better or any tips for them, I'm sure people would love to hear it. This one is in Fiddletown in Amador County. This comes from, I believe, Nancy.
This is California?
This is California. That's kind of the foothills in the Sierra. Yeah.
Okay. I think I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's the same tip as I just told you is the light rays on the side. I would have positioned the camera to eliminate the light rays because it throws the sensor off and makes spots. And I would have liked to seen a
Oh,
little bit more of the doghouse. I'm assuming that's a doghouse.
it's cute, whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is also Fiddletown. Same. Look at the sky.
Sky is beautiful. I would have raised the camera so that I would have gotten the top of the tree, and we've got a little bit of roof in there as well. I would have liked to have eliminated that. While I like seeing the snow on the railing, it sometimes bothers me to see portions of a tree. And it
Okay.
looks like you would have gone just a little higher to get the top of the tree in there.
Okay. This one is from Lulu in Mendocino County. She took this picture of her backyard area and noted that you could see an animal's tracks that had walked in the snow overnight.
Yeah, I think it's cute. It's really nice. A very simple edit would have been to open up your Photos app, whatever phone you have, and just brighten the image a little bit because it's a little dark. And it's a really simple thing to do. If you're using Apple Photos, that you'd click the first button, which is the auto button, which automatically brightens it, and would have just made it pop a little bit more.
Okay. It's a great shot, though. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Um, this is snow on the beach in Fort Bragg.
Wow. Okay, Mendocino area.
Hmm.
Um, Uh, it's hard to tell because it just looks like a sandy beach from what I'm seeing. So I would have it's a really nice shot. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to take anything away from it, but I would have also taken a shot without the railing there in the front, in the
Okay.
foreground, and maybe really got into that snow. Just got into that snow and showed us that it was snow. If they wanted to do the cliche shot of picking up the snow and making a snowball and holding it and doing a selfie, that would have
Yeah.
been fine, or just something that lets
Hmm.
us know that's not just sand, that's actually snow.
This is a picture of Mount Tam. It comes to us from Tom. Mount Tam, of course, in Marin County. This picture taken from Kentfield looking toward Mount Tam. You can see the
Okay.
snow on the mountains there.
I would have gone a little higher and ditched the cars. And
Ah,
and
okay.
and if you've got three lenses on your phone, and on your iPhone you've got five on the Samsung, I would have gone for one of the telephoto lenses to let us see the snow a lot better, and try to take the picture without what is that? There's a pole sitting there. I would have
Yeah.
tried to position without the
Go on the
pole and
other
without
side
the
of the
cars.
pole, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's really easy to do. Just walk on the other side of the pole, and then you've got a nicer look. Uh,
This is
cute,
in
cute.
Boulder Creek in the backyard. A couple kids with the snowmen this morning.
Where's Boulder Creek?
Santa Cruz Mountains.
Santa Cruz Mountains. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
perfect. You have nothing. There's nothing that would make that any better. As a portrait photographer, I would have asked the kid to also kneel next to his mom and gotten
Yeah.
in really tight there for a shot of the three heads together. Would have been really
Yeah.
cute, right?
Yeah. This is the Anderson Valley, also, I believe, in Mendocino County, wine country.
Wow, great, love it. Yeah, that would be a nice little automatic brightener in the Photos app as well. But I think I really like it the way it is.
Let's see what else I have for you. I think I already showed you. Oh, here's one. And this one, I couldn't quite make out the snow on the hillside, but this is from Laura. She sent this picture of Los Gatos. You can kind of see in the background that there's a bit of snow up on the peak there.
Okay, well, the shot's out of focus,
Yeah.
and I don't need to see the cars. And all you had to do is the greatest zoom in the world is called 2 feet, and you just keep walking towards the car and the cones, and you would have eliminated all of them, and you would have seen the mountains a lot clearer.
A little better. Yeah, but it's still it's still kind of a cool picture that you can see the snow out there. And
Yeah,
this one, lastly, is from Maud. This is also in the Santa Cruz Mountains area in a backyard.
amazing. I mean,
Isn't it cool?
I can't believe what California looks like today. Where I live, I'm in LA, and it's just wet.
Oh, no snow on your peaks or anything near you?
No, well, Yeah, we have the San Gabriel Mountains, and that's an hour drive for me. So that's where the snow would be. And if I position myself correctly, I could go get a picture of the skyline with the snow in the background. But I need a clear day, so I have to
Okay.
wait for the next clear day, which might be on Sunday, and I'll run out and do that.
So
Anybody watching in LA, it's the Kenneth Hahn Park or the
yeah.
Baldwin Hills scenic overlook. Those are the two places where you would get your iconic LA with the snow-capped mountains behind it shot.
We have kind of picked all these photos apart, but I want to say they're awesome. Like, I am
Oh yeah.
so appreciative of getting to see these images from all over the state. Oh, you know what? There's one more I wanted to show you. I thought it was really cool because this is in the Hollister area, Salinas Hollister area,
Mm-hmm.
and it is of mountains in this area. But I love the juxtaposition of the palm tree and then the snow-capped hills behind it.
Agreed. And again, I would have gotten on the other side of the wires and
Yeah.
tried to get that shot without the wires. But yeah, love those, love the sugar on top of the mountains, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, okay, do you have a favorite of all the ones we've looked at?
Run them one more time quickly.
I deleted some of them from my system
You
already.
deleted
I
them
I
already.
I thought, well, I can put them back in, but I thought um I kind of picked out the one I thought would be your favorite.
Okay, which one was that?
This is the one you seem to like the most.
Yeah, I think I like it the best. California with snowmen? Really?
Well, we knew it was in Tahoe, right? And in the Sierra, and in what you have in
But I think you'd have to
Southern
pick
California, you have
but I
a
think we
mountain.
have to pick Mendocino because Mendocino doesn't
Mm.
usually get a lot of snow. So it would be one of the Mendocino shots, not the one of the snow and the sand. Um, Maybe the one in the backyard.
You like the
Not not the footprints.
you like the Anderson Valley Mendocino one? Is this the one?
Yeah, I hope.
It kind of looks magical with
Yes,
the
yes.
snow resting on the branches.
That's not Mendocino as I recall it.
It's Anderson Valley, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty special. So,
yeah,
okay, so any tips as we get out there? And
yeah.
thank you for all those critiques because these pictures are awesome. I think you were just kind of nitpicking about how you could make it better if you wanted to, which is awesome because it gives us tips for upcoming storm pictures that we might want to take over the weekend. What are your tips for getting out there and capturing pictures of snow and rain?
Okay, so first of all, I don't want to take away from anybody that went to the bother to submit a photo because they're all
Right.
great.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
great, and we love seeing it. And when we live in a certain area and we don't know what it's like, the beauty of the internet is that you're sharing and you're showing us what it looks like.
It's
And
exciting.
I'm not relying on the weather showing
Right.
us extreme things.
Yeah.
This is just a fantastic thing. We complain about social media, we complain about the internet, but this is the internet at its best.
Right.
Okay, so this is all great. My tips for a wet weekend, again, start with don't worry about getting your camera wet. It doesn't matter. You have a
Right.
water resistant camera. I have swum with the iPhone.
Unless you
Okay,
don't have an
and
iPhone. I mean, there are a lot of people that have,
if the Galaxy
the
is water
Google
resistant, the
Pixel
Google
and
Pixel is water resistant, all the
okay.
phones, any recent modern phone of the last 6 to 7 years is
Yeah.
water resistant.
Okay.
Get out there, jump in a puddle, get a really nice iconic shot of somebody walking down the street with an umbrella in an area that you don't expect to see them in. Now in Northern California, you see more rain than us in Southern California. Last year I saw the rain once, like January 1st, and I never saw it again for the rest of the year. So it's always fun. So an umbrella is an iconic shot. Get wet, get the drops like Kim was doing last night. Have fun. And
Yeah.
also know that when you're getting your camera wet, it does not respond well. So all of a sudden the LCD screen and our touch screen, it will screw up. So anybody who is not hip to this should know that right here, the volume buttons on the side of the phone, and I don't care what kind of phone you have, that will operate your shutter. So when
Okay.
you're doing your touch screen and it stops responding to you, use the volume buttons. So
Okay.
that's a cool thing to do. Get a wet selfie is always fun. If you get video of the snow falling, I don't
Yeah.
think we get enough video clips. Instagram will give you props for putting up a reel, and YouTube will give you that as well. So you have to shoot vertical for that. A little 10-second, 15-second clip of snow coming down is
Yeah.
always fun to see. So you just have a ball. Don't we don't get weather like this all the time, so enjoy it and document it.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I'm going to employ some of your tips and see if I can't do stuff. What about taking pictures of your kids in the snow or the rain?
Wearing suits, having fun, making snowballs, having snowball fights, making snowmen,
Yeah.
snow girls, snow women, doing all the things that those of us in New York and Connecticut and Rhode Island and Maryland do all every winter. Do the classic snow shot, because we have not had a lot of opportunities to do that in our life, and your kids may have never done it before,
No, as a
right?
matter of fact, my son, I took him to Tahoe when he was really little, like 2 or 3, and we haven't been back, and he's 9. He doesn't remember snow at all.
Okay,
So
so how old is he now?
9, he just turned
He's
9.
not. Oh, he doesn't remember
Yeah.
snow. Well,
No.
throw a snowball at him, he'll remember.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we had snow fall on the hills in between Petaluma and Sonoma. It's called Sonoma Mountain.
Mhm.
And I'll show you a picture. I did not take this picture. This photo is from the Press Democrat, which is the local newspaper. But see if I can't get it to you. Kind of a good shot, I think, of a wide shot of the snow on the mountains there. As you can see
Lovely.
the fog and
Yeah.
the clouds up above. So it is in my area. I just have to drive to it about, I would say 25 minutes up the mountain, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could do
Yeah,
that.
on a wet weekend should be
On
fun.
a wet weekend, let's do it.
I feel bad for Nikki's drive, because that's a tough drive in the rain.
So let's talk about Photowalks TV because
Yes.
you have something coming up. Am I right?
I do. I have new episodes every weekend. And so Photowalks TV is a series. I take you with me on a virtual photo walk to great places, primarily in California, because that's where I live. And tomorrow I will be in Solvang, which
Okay.
is the Danish capital of
I
America.
love Solvang.
Yeah,
It's
and
such a sweet place.
it is really cute, and it's not a theme park. It's
Yeah.
actual Danish people that form the town and still live there, and they're known for some of their Danish treats, and they're known for their architecture, and the surrounding areas are just absolutely stunning. Wine country, rolling
Yeah.
hills, and it's about a 15-minute video, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm actually editing a little companion about my
Okay.
of drone shots, because I got some really good drone shots flying around Solvang and the area. So that will be up as well. So
Cool.
that will post tomorrow. I
I
hope that
think
everybody watches it. YouTube.com/Photowalks TV.
I have a trailer. I'm going to see if I can play it. See.
Photowalks TV is all about going to some pretty great places and showing you how, when, and where to get better photos. I shoot everything on a smartphone. Probably you do too, right? So no fancy camera gear needed. Oh, you're yelling at me. That was quite a yell. Here I am at Oceana Dunes, where you can actually drive your car right on the beach. Pretty cool, right? See you soon on the next photo walk.
Awesome. Sorry that was so loud, you guys. I was trying to turn it down while we're in there, but couldn't figure out where exactly to do that. So I apologize.
I forgot to mention that I shoot every episode on an iPhone, and I do
Oh,
that on
wow.
purpose to show, you don't need any fancy tricks. You don't need any fancy cameras. You don't have to go buy anything. I'm shooting on the exact same thing that you're doing, and I'm showing you some of the fun things that you can do on an iPhone. So Solvang is all iPhone except for some drone shots, and I have a few GoPro shots as well.
So that's cool. Now, in addition to Photowalks TV, which we can find on YouTube, you're doing a weekly show. And one of the reasons I wanted to
Yes.
have you on Nikki's show is because your show comes on the minute Nikki's show ends on Thursday.
Yes.
And what
And
are you
so
doing on the show? Like, what's it going to be about?
So it's Photowalk Talks live, and
Okay.
we it's photo tips, it's interviews, it's news, it's discussion, and it's answering your questions because I get a lot of them every
Okay.
week. And it's this live thing is a fantastic way of communicating with your audience on a one-to-one basis, well, more than one-to-one, but on a real-time basis. And because everybody who asks a question always has a follow-up, so it's we did it yesterday, and I could not be happier. My inspiration is I've been appearing with Kim and Mark
Yeah.
Thompson for the last, what is it now, 3 months, something like that.
Yeah, we've been doing doing the show for about 4.5 months ish. You know, we're
Okay.
still new, we're still getting our footing, but yeah.
So I've been doing it every week, and the feedback has been fantastic, and I've loved every minute of it. And I was always worried about doing live. Would anybody show up? So we did it yesterday, and people showed up. So I'm going to do it every Thursday at 2, and I hope you'll join me next week.
I love that the show comes on right after Nikki's is over, because I think a lot of people have been telling me, you know, they miss KGO, Station X. They miss the old KGO. And they miss being able to have us with them whenever they want to. And sometimes it seems like the 4 hours that we're trying to provide every day, you know, people want more. So it's nice to add you to the mix, add you to our family of hosts that people can feel comfortable with and know and jump on and participate in what you've got going on. And by
Now,
the way,
I would do it every day. I would do it
Yeah.
every day. But what
Yeah.
about traveling and going out and shooting? And that's the only snag, right?
Yeah, I also think it's good to start small, and as it grows and gets bigger, you can always increase the number of days per week. They want to know how. Let's see. N Stars wants to know how long are the shows on Thursday usually?
1 hour.
1 hour. So,
I'll
okay,
go
that's pretty
longer
good.
if you want. I'll go longer if you want, but it's we start at 1 hour.
A great time, by the way, to ask Jefferson Graham any questions if you would like to. Jay Stiller says, if you have a phone camera, I highly recommend you watch the show.
Thank
so
you,
that's a
Jay.
nice comment.
Jay
Yeah.
was with us yesterday too, so thank you.
It's one of these things where, you know, I don't really think about it when I just pick up my phone and see something I want to capture. I'm always thinking something an old news director, his name was Paul Hosley, told me at the beginning of social media. He said, every story has a picture, because I was used to radio reporting. I'm thinking audio and sound, and how can I recreate the picture of what's happening in what I'm seeing with my eyes? How can I recreate that with my voice and with the sounds that I'm playing on the radio? And then came social media, and he wanted us to post the pictures along with the story. And so I would just snap, a picture of the scene, never really trying to, thinking about the best techniques or the best ways to capture it. So I think it's kind of fun to get those tips and get a little bit better at what we're doing.
And as far as news goes, this is our news gathering organization right here. It's documenting everything. I drove down the street the other day. I saw that a street was cut off because I don't know. I didn't know why. So I pulled over and then it turned out that the wind had knocked a giant tree down. And
Okay.
so I took a bunch of pictures. Took a bunch of pictures of the tree. I took a bunch of pictures of the tree in a guy's Ford truck, and I contribute to the local paper here, and so I wrote an article about it, and it was just basically all pictures because that tells the story.
Walnut Creek Adult Softball says, saw the show. It was great. 1117 says, just subscribed. Thank you. And no, I'm sure you're not. SJ Lola says, I'm the worst photographer. I'll start watching your show for tips. So, and then Vilma, whom I adore, says, watch the show. If you don't know any fancy tricks on my iPhone, I just point and shoot. Yeah, watch the show. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you can learn from Jefferson Graham. Thank you for being here, Jefferson Graham. I'm going to pop in on your show to just hang out with you. And that is coming up on March 9th. So I will be doing that with you. That's a yes. Yes. And I look forward to it, and I'll see you on Mark's show very soon. And
just a real quick, Photowalks TV, Solvang tomorrow, youtube.com/Photowalks TV. And I have a newsletter, 2 editions, Saturday and Sunday, jeffersongraham.substack.com. Tomorrow is sort of like the tech version, and then we'll talk about photography on Sunday's version.
Okay, great. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Have fun.
Bye. Jefferson Graham, everybody. Awesome. I would like to now bring in the founding sponsor of the Nikki Maduro program, someone who I also adore and who is looking very suave in his checkered shirt. It is tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. Hi, Steve Moskowitz.
Hi, Kim. And for those of you that weren't watching Mark's show, when Kim asked me about that, I said, I'm going out to an Italian restaurant tonight, and I went to match the tablecloth.
Are you really going out, or are you just pulling my leg as a
No,
joke?
I'm really going out.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a favorite Italian restaurant in the city?
As a matter of fact, I do. And the bottom line is I'm chatting with another attorney, so it'll be a tax-deductible meal because we're going to be chatting about business.
Oh, fancy.
And as was stated by the tax court in the famous Walt Disney case, when he took his wife along with him, and the IRS attorney asked her if she enjoyed the trip, because he deducted it and the IRS had a problem with that.
Yeah.
The tax court judge said the famous line, suffering is not a prerequisite to deductibility, because she said, yes, she had a good time. So it's fine to have a good time on a business meal.
All right.
But thinking about it, it seems I was just saying to you that, oh, it's going to be February next week. And now I'm saying, Kim, it's going to be March next week.
Yeah.
And, everybody is focused on the April 15th tax deadline. But for corporations, it's not April 15th, it's March 15th.
Oh, I didn't know.
So the bottom line is we need to hurry up. Of course, we can get an extension. But remember, an extension is an extension of time to file, not an extension of time to pay. So the bottom line is, a lot of people know us, know me for solving tax problems, or you can't pay your taxes, or you're being audited. But they always ask, Steve, do you do regular tax returns? Absolutely. I was a CPA before I was a tax attorney.
Yeah.
We absolutely do regular tax returns, but we don't do them in the regular way. We're not just looking to move the numbers from one place to another. We're looking to save you taxes. And so many times we do returns, you know what? You're not taking advantage of X, Y, and Z. And if you did that, you could save a lot of money. I had that conversation with a new client just earlier this morning. And what I'd like to do and talk to your listeners and viewers and say, give us a chance with your tax return. Let's see what we can do for you. And it's our goal to have you pay the absolute rock bottom bare legal minimum with your taxes.
I have a tax question for you. So when I worked for KGO during COVID, but worked from my home because we had to stay home, I understand I wasn't allowed to deduct my home office. But now that I'm working basically for myself, along with Nikki and Mark, am I allowed to deduct my home office?
Very interesting question. Lawyer's answer, it depends.
Okay.
So first of all, you have to have a portion of your home that's exclusively used for business. Now, this is different than most other things. Suppose you said to me that you used your car 80% for business. I'd say, no problem. You can deduct 80% of the car expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose you said, 99% of the time I use my home office for work and 1% I use it for frolic and banter. I'd say, sorry, no deduction for you. So that's one thing. Now, suppose you come back and you say, Steve, I use my home office 100% for business. Then yes, it's deductible. However, I would caution you that we may or may not want to take the deduction, because when you do that, you're converting that portion of your home from your personal residence to business property. So if you sell the home, there's a different tax treatment.
Really? And what about if you're deducting your mortgage interest on your regular personal taxes? Does that
mortgage interest is something different, but it's limited. So the bottom line is a lot of things that are limited for personal use are not limited for business use. And there's so many different rules. It's like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act took away our ability to write off most casualty losses, with an exception if you got scammed in crypto. There's a special rule where after Bernie Madoff, that automatically converts to a business loss and you can write it off. That's why it's so important we do your taxes. Yeah. I dedicated my professional life to this. And, I don't know how to do dentistry. I don't know how to do plumbing. I don't pretend that if my sink leaks, I'll call a plumber. I won't, flood the house. And the bottom line is that's why it's so important, because new clients all the time ask questions like this, and then we make a decision. So, for example, is it in your best interest to deduct the home office? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah. I didn't realize that it would change the way I could sell my house.
Well, it's not the way you could sell. You can always sell your house, but it would change
Right.
the tax treatment on the sale of your house.
Okay.
Because there's special tax benefits when you sell your principal residence. But if you have a home office, you've converted a portion from your personal residence
Right.
to business. So that's why when we do the taxes, old fashioned, we actually talk to you and say, well, look, so for example, if you said to me, look, I'm going to be here the rest of my life, no problem. I'm going to be here 30 years, no problem. Yeah, I think I'm going to move next year. Well, wait a minute. Do we really want to do this?
What about if like 1 year you use it, but maybe next year I'm doing something different and I don't use it? Is it complicated to switch back and forth from deducting this office or not?
Clients ask me that. It doesn't matter if it's complicated. The only thing we care about is what's in the best interest of the taxpayer.
Yeah. Okay. Before I let you go, I did get a question from the chat about from the lady Beatrice, who says, "Hey, Steve, the 1% is notorious for not paying the full amount of taxes. I would argue often no taxes at all, right? How are they getting away with this from the IRS?"
The IRS doesn't make the law. The IRS enforces the law. They're like a cop. The cop doesn't say the speed limit on this highway is however many miles. The legislature does. What happens is that question that person asks comes up all the time. Mm-hmm. Our tax system has two purposes. One is for collection of revenue. We all know that. But the other one, it's a system of incentives. And in a democracy, the government can't order us to do anything, even though it might be good for the economy and they want us to do it. So how do they do that? They pay us for it. They give us tax incentives. Now, most of these, especially after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, do not apply to individuals. They apply to businesses. And that's why you see that like Fortune 500 companies making so much money and legally not paying taxes on it. And coincidentally, that's why I became a tax attorney, because many moons ago, when I set foot into law school on day one as a student, I already had a bachelor's and master's degree in accounting. I was already a practicing CPA. And I worked for a big fancy firm whose clients were the Fortune 500. And it boggled me. I said, look at these companies making so much money and they're legally not paying taxes. What's the secret? That's why I went to law school. And I found out, yes, these things exist for companies much smaller, regular sized companies, not just the Fortune 500. But you have to know where they're located. And that's what tax planning is all about. But that's the answer to the question, because the Congress gives us a system of incentives.
So I have your numbers on the screen, 888-TAX-DEAL or MOSKOWITZLLP.com. It's better when Nikki does it, but that's all right.
No, you did it terrifically. Thanks so much.
So thanks for being here. Have a really great weekend and enjoy your meal.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao, I should say. That's Steve Moskowitz, founding sponsor of the Nikki Maduro Show. I will say, if you're interested in sponsoring, we would love to talk to you, because we're trying to keep the show going, honestly, and we would love to have you sponsor a newscast or half hour of the show or a segment, whether you've got a restaurant and you want to sponsor the Friday food segment or what have you. You can email us. You see, this is for, she says, PayPal donations, but also we'll take general emails as well. The Nikki Maduro Show @gmail.com. So shoot us an email if that's something of interest to you, and we can talk about it and see if it would work. Also, while I have you, please click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show. It does something within the YouTube situation. We really appreciate if you're listening live or if you're listening after the fact. Take a moment and click the thumbs up like button for us. We appreciate that very much. And if you do want to donate and kick in, you can always donate via YouTube right now, via Patreon, PayPal. You can find the link at thenickymaduroshow.com. Right now, I would love to bring in my friend, my former coworker at KGO. It is Clark Reid. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon.
Oh, don't you sound good?
Had a little trouble getting here. I had recorded my own YouTube show earlier, and your software didn't like it and wouldn't let my camera hook up, so I had to reboot real quick. But I'm here now, so all is well.
And it's okay. It's been
Since I know you're into pop culture and and science and figure, this is the brand new Mandalorian Aloha shirt.
I love it. I can't see. I can only see the collar and the shoulders.
But it has Mando on it, and it has Baby Yoda or Grogu and all of the characters from which premieres on Disney Plus. I think it's next Wednesday, the new season. So
you always have the best Aloha shirts, Hawaiian wear. Yeah. Very cool. People saying hello to you. Mindy Lee saying, hi, Clark. Thank you for being here. You have your own YouTube show.
Yeah.
And how do people find it? What do they search for?
It's just Clark Reid SF.
Okay.
At YouTube.
And you're talking tech, right?
Yeah, we try to do 3 or 4 of these things. They're not a full show like what you and Nikki are doing, or like, what you're doing with Mark. They're, 3, 4, 5 minutes long, and I just hit certain headlines that I think are interesting to people, not to, when I was at Station X, the IT engineer, who's a wonderful guy, Andrew.
Yeah.
And he goes, why don't you talk about this? This is Silicon Valley, all the CEOs. Because only you, me, and 2 other people in this building understand it, Andrew. So we try to talk about stuff that, relates to real humans.
So what do you have this week on the Tech Talk?
Well, one I just did this morning that is that Apple is now not only going to roll out their new mixed reality headset at Worldwide Developers this summer, and now it looks like they're going to introduce it along with the iPhones in September, which will be cool. But it's going to be like $3,000 or more. It's it's not for everyone. But
what is it exactly?
It's a mixed reality headset, AR and VR.
All right. And so it's like a way to be in a different world?
The big goggles. Yeah, or in this world with overlays that show you, there's a restaurant there. What is their menu like? And it'll pop it up on the side and this sort of thing. So it's much more than just, you walking around a virtual world. It will be the mixed reality, which is really where I think it's going to be at.
That's from the future, isn't it? Yeah. Doesn't it remind you of that Tom Cruise movie where you would look over and there would be a dedicated ad just for you?
And this will be that way. It has its own OS, and it will pop up like, say you get a message. The message will pop up on the side. You can read the message, off to the side of your field of vision and all that kind of thing and answer it, or emails, or the whole thing. All of the suite of Apple basic apps will be on the damn thing when it comes out. But again, $3,000 more than anyone's going to pay. However, the latest from Ming-Chi Kuo, who's been an Apple tout forever and is almost always accurate. He said, we can look for a high and low end one and version 2 of them in 2025. Okay. And version 2 is going to be probably more like $1,500, like the Oculus headset.
Okay.
So that's, that's a little closer to what most people, if they're buying, a smartphone, they're paying $1,000, $1,200. So that's getting kind of into the sweet spot. Finally, we'll see how that goes for Apple. And Samsung just announced that they are now in the game with the satellite talk. You know how Apple has their SOS Apple, where you can send an emergency message out in the boondocks where there's no cell service. Which is great.
I mean, it's not something that you would use all the time. And I haven't figured out if I was in trouble, how I would actually do that. So I don't know.
You have to have a clear view of the sky.
Right.
But other than that, it should hit a satellite within a minute or so. And Samsung has gone a step further. Theirs will not only do that, it will also do some texts, and it will also, they say, use two-way text messaging and high-def images and video sharing.
Okay.
Which is a step beyond, what Apple's is doing right now. And with them doing that, and with it looks like there's a system that's coming out for all Android, and then T-Mobile is hooking up with Starlink. So we're going to have a lot of satellite possibilities coming up, later this year, really, which is going to be very, very cool. And now the bad news.
I just want to tell you, Jenny Tupper likes your shirt.
Oh, thank you. And the bad news, how Netflix raised prices last year, and nobody's happy with it. Well, now they're cutting prices in over 30 countries.
Wait,
but
why?
Not for you.
Oh.
Yeah. Not for you, not for me. It's the Middle East and part of Africa, Balkan, Europe, Latin America, and parts of Asia. They're cutting it by up to half, trying to bulk up on their subscribers there. but they're not going to give a cut to us, and they're still going to put in the extra fee for sharing your system, sharing your password, really. Which I do. I mean, I've got my youngest that uses my password, and I just texted her and said, by the way, when it goes up, you guys are going to like buy me dinner once a month or something to cover, using my account all these years. So there you go.
But I mean, what do you think the ethics are of that? Do you think it's okay to share passwords like that? Like we shouldn't feel bad about it?
I think in your family, I don't have a problem with that. I think if you're sharing it with roommates and friends and, everybody
Whoever
that comes down
else.
the pike, I think that's just not right. But I mean, my younger daughter, she started sharing it when she was in college and living with me. So, and then moved out and has her own home and everything. I mean, she can afford her own account, but
I feel like a better way to do it rather than saying one per household or, we're going to make you just type in a special code or whatever. It's just with every account that you can, log in from 4 different places. That's it.
Sure.
And so,
that makes sense.
Give you 4, 3, whatever it may be. This is the price for a family of 4 people, regardless of where those people are located. That's
which they do on cable TV too. I mean, I have the setup so I can have I only have one television, but I have my iPad that I use upstairs for a little TV. And I know other people that do the same kind of thing. And they just charge, $1 or $2 extra and you have the extra ability to watch wherever you are. And it's worth it, in my opinion. But, I think with some people, like with my kid that moved out, she didn't want to start her own account because she'd lose all of her history of the shows she watches and all that. And I get that. So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, people are going to do it. People are going to share passwords. So why not come up with a system that takes that into account and into mind and makes it okay within reason?
Sure. That makes sense to me. By the way, moving over to, you had sent me a thing about this, the Rundle.
I had never heard the word before.
I haven't heard Rundle either, and I don't know where they got it, but it's an interesting word. We all know what it is. Basically, it's if you subscribe to Amazon Prime, they throw in the TV and movie streaming. And a lot of different people do that same kind of thing. They mentioned Restoration Hardware, and there's I got a HomePod a couple of weeks ago, an Apple HomePod version 2 to run all my house, turn my lights on and off and all of that, and the cameras and everything. And it really works well. It hooks up very well. Caveat, it sounds great, but it is not audiophile. It's not, that level of sound, but it's really, really good. And it's really easy to use. And Siri, has had a brain transplant and is much better than she used to be. So that's a good thing too. But
is it part of a Rundle?
Yes. I bought it and they came out and said, okay, you bought this. Now you get 90 days of free Apple Music. I don't want free Apple Music. I have 8,000 songs in my account already, having been a radio guy forever. I don't want your millions of songs. I'll never listen to the 8,000 I have. But they keep pestering me because it's part of their Rundle. They want to get that $9.99 or $4.99 or whatever a month that they charge for it.
I wonder if that's a Rundle, or is a Rundle when it comes, that sounds more like an advertisement where you get 80 days free and then you have to pay an extra fee. But a Rundle seems more like a bundle of services. Am I getting it wrong?
I'm not sure, because it mentions in your article that HP has their instant ink program where they, you subscribe to the ink, when you buy the piece of hardware, the printer, which I just loaded with new ink cartridges, and that is a chunk of money. They're like razors, folks. The handle costs you $2 and then they just bend you over for the razor blades. And that's how it always is. The ink cartridges are just preposterously expensive for what they are.
It looks like people like my plan. N-Star says it should be 4 no matter where. Murphy says, I like sharing with family or within family or households because sometimes we watch together, sometimes on our own, but we all have overlapping playlists. So
sure. That makes
Vilma
sense.
Says, what about kids that go to college? Share or no share?
Right. I think that makes sense. I mean, you ought to be, if they're in your family and they're, like you said, use it anywhere, because you might use it anywhere too. If you're traveling, if you're on
Yeah.
the road. I mean, you might want to log into, I know when I go back and visit my daughter in Colorado, they don't have cable. They have satellite TV because there isn't any cable available in the neighborhood. So I can log in on my iPad or on my laptop and watch some of the stuff I like to watch that I can't get there.
Netflix premium plan says you can watch on 4
Yes.
supported devices at a time. As
Yeah.
a matter of fact, I got a message.
Mhm.
I was sitting down to turn on the TV, and I think I had logged on to Netflix, and it said, "I'm sorry, there are too many people watching
Wow.
Netflix in your house."
You only have 4 in your family. How does
So
that work?
my daughter was watching a show on her iPhone in her room.
Okay.
My husband was back in the bedroom watching something on an iPad, and
Uh-huh.
I was in the living room or the family room
Right.
turning on the TV. That was only 3 devices, but still
Yeah.
it said, "I'm sorry, no can do."
Wow, that's weird. I
I don't
wonder
know.
what kind of goofy thing was going on with that.
Oh, no.
Oh, and here's something, and you and Nikki might want to look into, or a lot of other people that do things on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not that big with my my little blog, but YouTube has rolled out support for multi-language audio tracks. And
I heard about this. This is really interesting.
yeah, they program the software themselves. You can do it to new and existing videos. However, you do have to hook up with a partner, a dubbing partner that helps you out to put those in. But you can put it into a different language, and it'll automatically. You can select that when the viewer comes on to select the different parameters for watching your show. So if you
Well,
wanted
it
to,
opens up a whole new world.
yeah, if you want to do your show in
who can
Spanish
participate.
as well as English or
Yeah.
in Mandarin or whatever they
Right.
support, that's pretty cool. And it also, again, only works for long form content like your show, Nikki's show, and Mark's. It doesn't work for little shorties like me, but they're working on it.
Yeah, it'd be weird to watch us and then have our mouths moving
Yeah.
with some other type of words coming
Yeah.
out. Very interesting.
Be like
lot of
movies with subtitles.
lot of different languages too.
Yeah, they're offering a bunch of different languages. And back, this is kind of an interesting one. Back to Apple for a minute. They are a little closer with their blood glucose monitor for diabetics. They have now gotten to what they call the proof of concept stage, and they are actually talking to some government agencies about getting approval. This isn't going to happen right now, folks. It's not going to be out in the iPhone 15. So that's not happening. But they got it squeezed down, the glucose monitor that doesn't take a finger stick, from kitchen table size. They've got it down to iPhone size now, and they're trying to miniaturize it down into a watch.
That's cool.
So it might take, another year or two or whatever, but boy, I mean, that's a huge, huge blessing for diabetics that have to stick their fingers, which is just awful. And for Apple, it'll just make them a caboodle more money than they already take in. So that's a big deal.
Speaking of medicine and big tech, I was reading this week as well that Amazon finally acquired, is it One Medical?
Yeah, One Medical. They are now a medical provider. Yeah. So
Yeah, so
that is going to be interesting.
I don't know what that means for medicine when you get a company like Amazon involved in it.
Yeah.
How does that, is it like, getting the wrong package delivered on Amazon, or how does it work?
Oh boy, I hope not. Not with your medications. That would be bad. That would not work out well. But I think initially they had wanted to do this just to cover their own employees, which is a massive number. And then they decided, well, you know what? We could expand this, into the general world, and this might become a part of Amazon, like a profit center. So going to be interesting to see how that works out.
Meta is reforming the whole Facebook jail system, as they call it.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you heard about this? They say it's going to be harder to land in Facebook jail.
That's good, because I've been there for like 2 months now. So
have you? What did you say?
I'm restricted. Well, I don't know if I can say it on here, if it'll come out. I was on I probably can't. Maybe I think anyone that speaks English will understand this, but not an algorithm or somebody in some other country. But on an engineer's site on Facebook page, we were talking about, inclement weather and, what happens, when the station goes off the air. And I said, I said, when I was doing some engineering for a station, I said, the police knew all of us. They knew our cars and our tag numbers. And so I said, so when they saw my red Cutlass go bombing out 4th Street to the transmitter, they didn't stop me. They knew I was on the way to turn the station on the air. They never bothered me. Well, the algorithm sent me this nasty letter. You said, you're restricted from this, this, and this because, you may be a terrorist. You mentioned explosives.
Oh, you said bombing.
Yes.
Oh, wow. But it was not in the right context.
No. And anyone that reads English would know that. But
oh, wow.
The algorithm didn't know it. And whoever's moderating must be in, Bangladesh or someplace and doesn't really speak English as a first language, because I was just appalled. And there was no way to appeal it.
No, there's no live person to say, hey, wait a minute, look at that. Yeah.
It's like, put this in context, realize what you just did, you fools. But anyway.
So they say they're reforming their penalty system so people will be less likely to have their accounts restricted for less serious violations of the company policies.
Well, that's good.
Instead, the social media giant, Facebook, Meta, says they'll focus on helping people understand why their content was removed, Clark.
Which is fine. I mean, if they do that, I had one put on me once before for something that I had put up a meme of the former guy in the White House, and it mentioned what he talked about, drinking certain liquids and putting things up your posterior and everything, and they so that was a clear danger, and it was a 4-year-old meme. And I know other people have had that happen. 2016, 2017, they've gotten penalized. And I'm going, wow.
You still got busted for it.
Nobody's going to scroll back that. You can't scroll back that far because your computer will lock up. So I don't know. It's just, they're nuts and they need to. And yet Zuck is going to lay off more people, apparently, after saying that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
It came out this week. They're going to lay off more. It's like, how are you going to moderate all this stuff? You do that. Not very well.
I mean, I guess one could only hope that they were swollen with people, because you see all these layoffs at Twitter, which is bare bones, and then Facebook, and it's like, is it going to be the same as it was?
Yeah. And by the way, a point of order, which, I mean, your hubby works in tech. My son works in tech. Well, when one of my daughters, and for all of those that do get laid off, the amount of time you're out of work in the tech industry right now is 2 months. There are lots of jobs. And the Department of Labor just came out yesterday. And for every person that gets laid off and is looking for work in the United States right now, there are 2 jobs.
Oh, so jobs that we want, or like menial jobs?
These are jobs. They're any jobs. It's the government. They don't break it out like that. But still, that still says it's a pretty strong labor market, really. Even though they're having layoffs here and there and wherever. So just putting that out there.
What do you think about this story? You think this is a sign of the times? There is a Bay Area company in Emeryville, and they have been making COVID tests. They're called Lucira, and they are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy now.
Oh, boy.
Lucira Health has $4.5 million left in the bank after developing a follow-up product that tested for both COVID and the flu.
Oh.
That test was approved in Canada, but a protracted process with the FDA has left that company now scrambling to stay afloat.
I believe that. That's really sad, but one of my kids works in a biotech company, and that's an onerous process to try to get something approved. A drug, it's just horrendous. So I get that. One other thing, speaking of artificial intelligence, before you have to go to the news, we're all talking about how Chat GPT is going to take over the world. It's now doing commercials on radio. It's doing all this stuff. It's going to take all these jobs, allegedly. Well, here's something that everyone ought to know. Artificial intelligence is kind of artificial stupidity, really, because the big deal started back in 2016 when an AI system beat people at the board game Go. And, it was invincible. Well, some guy named Kellen Perrine, who's a level below amateur, he's in the second to the top amateur ranking. He's not even a pro player. And he found a previously unknown flaw and crushed the AI 14 out of 15 games.
Wow.
And the net was, he said, any human that looked at the board could easily see what was going on. And he said, unless you're really stupid, you wouldn't have fallen for it. But the AI had no idea what he was doing. He was distracting him here and there, and then he encircled him and beat him.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So AI has a way to go before it takes over for us. And I'm happy for that.
How is it doing radio ads? Does it speak, or is it just writing them?
It's apparently speaking. There are some big agencies apparently that have made voice artists record a whole bunch of stuff, like way more than just the one commercial or so they were called in for, and they pay them. And then they are trying to use the AI to use those people's voices to voice new commercials. Which is really shady.
Would you sue? Would
Yes.
you sue if you were called in for one thing to give what, but then they use you on a whole different spot that because you had never signed on for?
Because under our union, which is the actors and voice people,
right.
Your likeness and your voice are protected, especially in California. They're very heavily protected in California.
Right.
And so, you would have grounds to sue over that because they're, basically stealing, your product.
Unless the contract was, okay, you're the voice of
and you're releasing that.
And you're releasing whatever we want you to say, you'll say, which I think is kind of dangerous because they could make your voice say anything and that reflects on you.
That's right. And it's like, all of the estates of Marilyn Monroe and the estates of Elvis and all that protect, the likeness and the voice of those. In fact, the King family wouldn't let anybody use the voice of Martin Luther King giving certain speeches and everything. You had to get special permission from them to use Martin's audio. And
this is scary. And Star says, I've seen that AI can draw and voice and make a video of face to match the voice. That's scary.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we'll see where we go from here. But wow.
As 1117 says, welcome to the digital frontier. Right?
Yeah.
Clark Reid, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. It's fun. And, hopefully do it again before too terribly long.
Yeah. Oh, Vilma says, can you imagine it being used in politics? I can.
That's just, I'm going to lose my lunch. Thanks a lot for that thought. Oh, dear.
Yeah. That's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Clark, have the best weekend. Stay dry and warm and toasty, and Aloha Friday to you.
Thank you. And aloha to you. We'll talk to you all next time.
Okay. Sounds good. Bye, Clark.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Clark Reid for being here on the Nikki Maduro Show. I appreciate him very much. I'm going to try to get him on weekly because he has such a great insight into tech, and I appreciate him and love him. Thank you for being here in the chat. I love that you're here with me as well. If you haven't yet, take a minute, click that like button. And if you would like to donate to the show, you can do that. You can via Patreon, and you can via PayPal as well. And of course, the super chat is live and well and rocking and rolling. So right now, let's get to news. See if I can play the news thing by myself.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
In the news today, we've got the Alex Murdaugh trial. He claims the deaths of his wife and son are connected to a fatal boat accident that happened years ago. Before his death,
from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Yeah, let me turn it off. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you're doing the show by yourself. Thank you guys again for your patience and putting up with me. Again, to Alex Murdaugh, he says the death of his wife and son are all related to a fatal boat accident that happened years ago. Before his death, son Paul McMurdaugh was charged for crashing a boat in 2019 while drunk, killing one of his passengers. On the stand today, Alex Murdaugh claimed vile social media posts about that crash led someone to target his son and his wife in 2021. So we'll see how that holds up in court. Consumer sentiment holding up for a third straight month. The University of Michigan's final reading for February edging up 3% from January, while the short-term economic outlook improved for most Americans. The survey noted considerable uncertainty over inflation. I think we all have uncertainty over that. Lawsuits already piling up against Norfolk Southern over the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. The Ohio-based law firm Johnson & Johnson recently announced it filed a class action lawsuit against the railroad on behalf of all residents within 30 miles of this derailment site. The train that derailed earlier this month exposed the community, they say, to highly toxic chemicals. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling for an audit of the aid that the United States has sent to Ukraine in its year-long war with Russia. Greene plans to introduce what's known as a resolution of inquiry to the House to find out exactly where the funds are all going to. The resolution, a way, she says, for the House to request information from the executive branch. There are sales of new homes on the rise now. Figures show sales of new single-family homes rose 7.2% in January to an annual rate of 670,000 units. Industry experts caution rising mortgage rates could dampen that trend, though. The FAA investigating another close call, this one involving planes at one of the nation's busiest airports. According to NBC News, this happened at Burbank Airport in the Los Angeles area, and there's video of one plane landing while another has been cleared to depart, and they're coming way too close for comfort. California has reported more UFO sightings than any other state. Since 2001. That, according to research analysis conducted by bonusfinder.com, the website analyzing data from the National UFO Reporting Center's State Report Index. Who knew there was a National UFO Reporting Center? California has 15,480 officially reported UFO sightings since 2001. The sightings last an average of 13 minutes each. Quick. But Mount Shasta's 20 reported sightings lasted an average of 51 minutes each. The longest of any location in the state. Los Angeles is the state's leading UFO hotspot with nearly 600 reported sightings. Most reports involve people seeing circles, spheres, or triangular shapes in the sky. A man called police making a threat to the Hollywood sign. In the spirit of Friday Fabulous Florida, he called the wrong Hollywood. TMZ says that's not how you do that. TMZ reports the man called police in Hollywood, Florida earlier this week. The other Hollywood is about 2,700 miles away from the iconic landmark Hollywood sign. He reportedly threatened to blow up the sign unless he got $10,000. That's pretty cheap, $10,000. The Broward County Sheriff's Office directed the call to the Los Angeles Police Department, which then determined the whole thing was a hoax. There was no threat. Everything is okay. This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, Steve is the one to call. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com, and he looks dashing today in his tablecloth shirt. So there's that as well. Again, I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Maduro Show. Nikki is out today on vacation, taking her beautiful daughter on a birthday trip. There is a story that I wanted to talk about, though. And it's really disturbing. So I want to warn you before we get into this that the video I'm going to show you is it is disturbing video. It's upsetting. I was upset when I saw it. This is video from Matanzas High School. I think this is in Florida on the Palm Coast. This is a student accused of violently attacking and knocking a school employee unconscious because she took away his Nintendo Switch. She took the gaming console away during class. And I think it's important to see because as we talk about teachers and COVID and how, things have seemed to have gotten more crazy. People have been acting out. Who knows if this is, we saw what happened in Virginia with the 6-year-old that shot his teacher. I think teachers are having to deal with and put up with more things than we ever knew about. So let's take a look at the absolutely awful attack. Yeah, you can see here the kicking and the hitting. I mean, wow. It's truly awful what is happening here. This is a woman who came to work to teach children and who only took away a Nintendo Switch. And look at the anger and look at how she ends up after that. I mean, I don't know what to say about, how awful that is. I think we can all agree on that. But let me tell you a little bit more about the story. This 17-year-old boy has been arrested on a charge of felony aggravated battery with great bodily harm. School resource deputies were called in after this about a teacher's aide that had been physically attacked on the campus. When they arrived in the classroom, they found this woman lying on the ground, bloody, her injuries severe. One parent from Matanzas High says, it's something we see all too often these days. And I feel very sorry for this teacher's aide that this happened to. I wonder in the chat, what are your thoughts about what teachers are going through right now? Yeah. Wow. Wow is what that was like. Oh, man, I'll tell you. Vilma says it doesn't surprise her, and that's sad. I mean, I know there are specific isolated cases where you have kids that maybe have mental issues, what have you. It just seems like, and maybe because of social media, maybe because everyone's got a phone in their hand, that these things are being videotaped more often. We're hearing about them more often. We're seeing attacks like that more often. Maybe that's why it's more in our face, and it seems like it's happening more often. I don't know. Nick says, lock that animal away forever. They've lost all rights to be treated as a human. Nick, on the surface, I would agree with you, but I think it depends on what's going on with that kid. Is that kid mentally disturbed? Obviously, it seems like something's going on with anger issues. Is that child, someone that you can help? I don't want to take someone that's 17 years old and say, you're a violent animal, you're a criminal, you can't be helped, nothing can ever be done for you, your whole life is kaput, that's it for you. On the other hand, we have to protect our school staff and our teachers. I would hope to think that someone had an inkling that this kid was disturbed well before this happened. And was it like the case in Virginia where they knew there were warning signs, there were complaints from teachers that something bad would happen, but no one ever did anything in administration? No one ever took the time to really look into it and say, you know what, this kid needs so much help, the school district is willing to pay for it. We're willing to step in here before something bad happens. I don't know. Eric says 17 is almost an adult. It's true. It is true. Yeah, I don't know if it has to do with race. I really don't. Colors of the Wind says beginning teachers don't even make a living wage in the Bay Area. It's true. And you're putting yourself in a place where you don't know what kids are going to do. You just don't. We're getting closer, says Brian, for various reasons to having security in schools. Right. But then you have security in schools, and then all of a sudden people don't want the police in schools because kids are, supposedly targeted. And maybe they are. I don't know how that works. And do we want our schools to be a place where you should have to have security? Maybe it's a happy, happy, joy, joy feeling. I would love the feeling of having my child walk into a school where there's no metal detectors and everyone says, hi, thank you. Welcome to school this morning. Let's have a great day. And there's sunshine and roses and happiness. But that's not the case, is it? Kim says parents ignore it, think their kids are little angels and will grow out of it. It's not true. It's not true. Blame a lack of boundaries at home, says the Lady Beatrice. I mean, if you're a teacher, are you scared in the classroom? Are you scared of what's happening at schools right now? Or am I kind of leaping there because I'm seeing things like this horrible attack? Is that really not the case? Were there warning signs? Yeah, I wonder if there are warning signs. I read that she's a paraprofessional. They make about $20 an hour. Yeah, paraprofessional. She's a teacher's aide. Teacher's aide in this high school classroom, and said to the kid, I'm taking your Nintendo Switch away, which the child should know you don't have that in class anyway. And then this is what happened, this horrible beating. The Lady Beatrice writes, teenagers are by nature rash and prone to bad choices, impulse control for sure, Lady Beatrice, while their brains are still developing, according to National Geographic magazine. Send them all to reform school or something. 1117 says Nintendo Switch was probably his only safe place. Thomas wants the boy in prison. Jay Siller says throw him in jail and throw away the key. Teachers are saints. Let's go back to that, Jay Siller, because yes, I agree. Teachers are doing amazing work, and they're patient. and they're kind and they care about the future and they care about children. All of that is true. Because that's true, do you think the teacher wants them to lock away this child and throw away the key? Even the paraprofessional that was beaten to holy hell probably wants the child to face consequences, but also to be helped. That's the kind of people teachers are. I don't think they want to see kids, just forever checked out. I think teachers want to see children reach their potential. So I hear what you're saying. But I don't know if teachers would be on board with that. Heather says, what's the point of looking at warning signs anyway? They're never addressed. Then everyone's all shocked Pikachu face when stuff like this happens. Pikachu face, you're funny. Yes, you're right, though. We saw it in Virginia, too. Matter of fact, multiple teachers complained. And still, this is what happened. Lady Beatrice, with the needing of security in schools because our students aren't safe, our teachers aren't safe. That's sad. What are we doing? If our schools aren't safe, if our teachers aren't safe, if our students aren't safe, what does that say about us and our priorities and what we're doing? It moves me to tears, you guys. It really does. That's not the United States that I want to live in, or that I want to send my children to school in. And I agree with you so much. We need security in schools because our students aren't safe, our teachers aren't safe. I think that says a lot in a very little sentence. Floyd says, sounds like the kids got some issues. Scientists have confirmed the mental state of adolescence ends at the age of 28. We have to start holding people accountable sooner or later, though, right? Vilma says, teachers are definitely at risk. It is a mental case, but the student must pay for what he did. There's always consequences for actions. The student may be a young person, but he has a man's body. Punched like a man, for sure. And even after the punching stopped, the kicking still went on. Why? How could you be so angry? There has to be some type of developmental delay or some type of mental issue. Wow. Maybe I should apply to be a teacher. I'm 6 foot, 300-pound dude. Maybe that's the new look for teachers. I'm telling you. Phew. The student is reported to be 6'6" and 270 pounds. I didn't see that in the story. I'll take your word for it, NSTARS. If I was doing a radio news broadcast, I would make sure to check my facts on that. But if that's the case, that's a big kid. Those actions do require discipline. Yes, they do. They absolutely do. The Lady Beatrice again. I used to be a preschool aide. I used to go to work every day fearing that my school would be a target for the next mass shooter. You know what? And I'll tell you, it's true, because every day my kids are at school. It's always in the back of my mind, just a bit of hope. I hope it's not today. I hope it's not their school. I hope nothing happens to them. And I wonder why we're willing to tolerate that. Pardon me. Why we're willing to tolerate that niggling sense of distress, in our subconscious or what have you. No. Vilma says the student aide will suffer forever for what happened to her. And Ron writes in, he has to be sent to military-style school where the staff is capable of defending themselves. You can't have teachers deal with a guy like that. He's clearly has issues. Yeah, that's true. KNet writes in, haven't seen your name before. Welcome. Is it KNet or KNL? If you're a teacher in the classroom, the truth is you're just not paid enough to deal with all the drama from the students and the parents and the administrative bureaucracy. I don't discount that you're right. It's my mom was a public school teacher for 35 years, and she used to say the hardest thing about being a teacher is the parents. So, yeah, yowza. If that were my significant other, you bet, face adult charges. And Tina says, I work at a school, I'm not a teacher, but I'm careful of how and what I say to students. You never know what's going to trigger them. It's really scary. John Radley writes in, this happened in Florida. Look at the way they are devaluing teachers there. What would make anyone think the kids would respect them if the parents don't? Yeah, I mean, yes. Murphy My oldest is on the spectrum. Gaming is her form of stimulating, I think. She would not be violent toward a teacher over her device, but has certainly had meltdowns at home when it's time to stop. I've heard that, Murphy, that for kids that have autism or ADHD or whatever, that they kind of get this high from video games. But I think also, and I don't know about this particular school, but I know at my kid's school, that's not tolerated. You could never bring a video game system like a Nintendo Switch to school. You couldn't do it. As a matter of fact, my son tried it one time, smuggled it in his backpack, and a teacher took it right away and said, "No, you can't have that here." So, you would think even kids that is their safe space, or that's kind of where they get their, good feelings from, or stimming or what have you, that they know the rules, right? They know the rules. The rules are concrete in their mind. There's a place for gaming, there's a time for gaming, and it's not at school. At least that's what I'm hoping. Brian says, I don't want to be turning into a raging conservative, but there's too much a lack of consequences for adults and children regarding bad behavior. It seems like it. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like sentences are too severe, and other times, especially if it's a crime against a woman, I feel like the sentences aren't severe enough. So, I don't know, Brian. I tend to agree with you. Uh-oh, Lady Beatrice again. What do you have to say? I'll probably get some hate here, but I feel schools should pay for their teachers to learn self-defense in classes where their own students aren't being safe. And then, though, you see these videos, what would happen if that teacher fought back? Like, really, let's talk about it. What would happen if that teacher fought back? If the teacher started blocking punches, throwing punches, trying to get out of there? Then it's a different story. Then, teacher hits student, right? Then you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in this situation, because you never hit a student. You never lay your hands on a student. Grounds for immediate firing. So how does a teacher or someone in this position, a teacher's aide, defend themselves while not injuring, hurting a student, and have that be the story? I don't know. But it sure would give me pause of whether or not I wanted to put myself in that situation if I couldn't even defend myself. Vilma says, I believe teachers know which students are risky to teach because of their past behavior. They should be helped and separated from other kids and teachers. It's something we should probably do in every school district, is really talk to teachers. I bet the same names come up. I bet there's a kid, I know of one at my child's school, who has threatened other students, put hands on other students, threatened to kill other students, and probably should be in a special school. But because the school district, if they say anything, would likely have to pay for that special school, they don't discuss it. They don't talk about it. They just kind of, keep it going until they can get their kid out of the school. But I think if we care about teachers and the safety of other students in the classroom, we really have to look at it and get these kids the help they need before something happens like that. Luis, yes, thank you very much. Thank you for being the glue that keeps our post-Station X universe together, and safe travels to Nikki. Yeah, I hope that everything's going well with her trip to Southern California in this really, really bad weather. And Luis, thank you so much for the $9.99. Your contributions, so appreciated. I'm so grateful for that. And thank you to everyone who kicks in to keep this show going. I'm very, very thankful for that. Let's see if there's any other comments you guys want to talk about this. Heather says teachers are not being allowed to defend themselves. They can't even restrain kids having violent outbursts. And that's a problem, because then you end up like this poor woman, who survived the attack, but was left with major injuries because of it. If someone punched me and kicked me like that, I'd probably still be in bed moaning, I would think. Jammer DC writing, some of this is a lack of respect for teachers. Parents often don't respect the teachers and then poison the students. Yeah, because what you say at home about teachers trickles down to how your kids feel about those teachers. Kids listen to everything and hear everything. And if you're bad-mouthing someone at the school, they hear that and they act accordingly. I don't disagree with that. It's something people need to think about, It's not enough to just say, we don't repeat this back at school. Mom and dad are talking about it, or whatever it is. Mindy says a teacher should not accept a student violently hurting them physically. No, they shouldn't accept it, Mindy, but what do they do about it? Because we're talking about if they fight back, they can't even restrain a child. So Kim, hey Kim, says it's why there are cameras in the classroom. You should have every right to defend yourself, especially with a 6'5" linebacker. Yeah, right. Oh, thank you, Pamela. I appreciate that very much. I'm really grateful that they brought me with them. Honestly, I am so thankful. I am having the best time doing this. It's exactly what we did at KGO. Talk about the stories of the day, get your opinions, have this community discussion. That's what I loved about KGO, and what I miss, and what I love about being able to do this here. So I hope we're able to keep doing it. Again, the show's crowdfunded, so by now, hopefully you know how to donate to it and support us. I really appreciate you taking your time to be here and inviting us onto your screen today, wherever you may be, to do that. It is Friday, and I would love to get to Tim Sica, but before we do that, I did promise you guys a story about American Girl. I'm telling you, the story makes me feel old as the hills, and I'll let you guess in the chat. So American Girl dolls, they have one of the things they have about their dolls that I kind of like is this historical feature where you buy a doll, say from the 40s, and then you can read the book and it talks about the history of that time. So you have the doll, she has a name, she's got a whole setup, maybe her dad was sent away to fight in World War II, and she's waiting for her dad to come back and what life is like in that era. So they do eras. They've had the 60s. I think Julie was from the 60s. They've had other dolls. My daughters loved American Girl dolls, which are not cheap, by the way. But the new dolls this year, I might have to just show you the picture. The new dolls this year are a set of twins. And I wonder if you want to take a guess in the chat, what era they feel qualifies as history now. I swear it will make you feel old as the hills. What era do you think that American Girl thinks we need to know the history of? Anybody? Nobody? Yeah. American Girl doll is not real. Yeah. And expensive too, I'll tell you. But I do like them learning history while they're playing with dolls. That's great. If you can watch the movie and the books and learn about a different era and what happened in that era, it's great. Yes. The 90s. Are you kidding me? The 90s. It just made me feel so old that's history. Good guess, Kim. I was thinking maybe 80s as well. They've done the 50s before. Yeah. The 90s. So they have, see if I can share the screen with you guys. They have twins that are from the 90s era. See if you can see it. There they are. The twins' names are, let's see, Nikki and Isabel. It's Nikki and Isabel from the 90s. And they have their red pizza cup from the Pizza Hut. Look at all the accessories they come with. They've got their old computer, their old Mac, and this old kinds of phones you can see there. So this is what we learn about the 90s. They've got their 90s outfits on. Back when things were wired headphones, looks like a Sony Walkman almost, the 90s. I don't know. This just made me feel really old that the historical decade they picked was the 90s, which to me feels like yesterday. So, okay, 90s it is, American Girl. Thanks for making me feel absolutely ancient. All right. I wanted to talk about movies with Tim Sica this afternoon because it's one of my favorite segments. Stop the American Girls. One of my very, very favorite segments on our show and my favorite movie reviewer with Tim Sica. So let's bring him on. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Kim. Can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you. Last time I had to hold my cell phone up to the microphone. So
I remember that. Yeah, we got through it though.
We got through it. We did it. We made it work. I am so
Yeah.
grateful to you for being here on the Nikki Maduro Show. Of course,
Thank
Nikki
you.
out today, but
Yeah.
you've got a whole host of movies to. Oh, is that a Nikki Maduro Show cup you're holding
Yeah, of
in
course.
your
I've got
picture?
2 of them. Yeah. Yeah. It's right in
That
the
looks really
corner there.
cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. If you're looking for one of those, the NikkiMaduroShop.com, the NikkiMaduroShop.com. You can find all the merch at. So how you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself? How do you like this weather? My
Oh,
gosh.
it's
I
crazy.
know.
You're in the South Bay, right?
I am in the South Bay. Yeah, but it was raining all night and through the morning. I think till about like maybe 8:30 this morning it was raining consistently. Not heavy, but consistently. And yeah, the cat wants to go outside, will go out. That's how I can usually tell if it's raining or not. The cat will just go out in the breezeway and then he'll come back in and he's soaked,
Can
so.
can you look up and see snow on the hills around your area?
I haven't really looked yet because I haven't really been out yet today, but
Okay.
I hear that you can see snow on I-17. Yep.
Yeah, Highway 17, Boulder Creek. I saw pictures yesterday. People were posting pictures from Twin Lakes Beach in Santa Cruz saying that there was snow on the beach. And then someone
Yeah.
else was saying, no, these are pictures from historical pictures. So I'm not sure if it snowed on beaches in Santa Cruz or not. That's why I haven't shown the pictures, but it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
I
and
wouldn't be
fun.
surprised. This crazy weather, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about movies because you've got one called God's Time. Is that where you want to start?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, God's Time. This is a unique and distinctive little indie film. When you watch lots of movies, God's Time is the kind of film that's such a nice surprise that when it happens, you go, oh, wow, this is really cool. And you're kind of reminded why you like movies and why you review movies. But this is a comedy about addiction recovery. It's a comedy about maybe loving the wrong person. That was kind of my takeaway on it. But mostly it's a comedy about deep friendship. And speaking of, the plot centers around these 2 best friends, both addicts in the movie and in real life. And both are really terrific actors, Ben Groh and Dion Costello. First time I've ever seen them in a movie, but they're both very good, but both very talented. And it's about their chasing through New York City to see if they can find and stop this woman that they are both in love with from killing her ex-boyfriend. So about half of the movie takes place in these AA type meetings, or RA meetings, I think they're called, Recoverers Anonymous, but they still operate on the principles of AA, where everybody sits around in a circle and they share. And the other half of the movie dramatizes this kinetic chase for this woman who these guys think is going to kill her ex-boyfriend because of something she shared at the AA meeting that they were all attending. And yeah, this is a very funny movie. It's a sweet movie. It's like a snap, crackle, pop kind of movie with fantastic energy. It's got a hip style and spirit. And apparently it was one of the first independent films shot during the pandemic in New York City. It's wildly creative and it's fun. And the depictions of what goes on in these recovery meetings, I mean, you know how in most movies when they dramatize these scenes, they're usually kind of orderly and kind of staid and civil. Right. Well, not in this movie because it was written and directed by this New York filmmaker. His name is Daniel Antebbe, and he himself is a recovering addict who wrote the film based on his own experiences. So it's a real winner. I mean, it's got a great title too, and it's for you. Is it
God's Time or is it In God's Time? Do I have the right picture up?
Yeah, it's got that. No, that's In God's Time.
That's the wrong movie.
No, this is God's Time. Well, it's funny because it's hard to find this movie online. I mean, they send us reviewers press materials and stuff, but I think if you Google it, because I was looking for pictures myself and I couldn't find any either. But no, that's In God's Time. This is called God's Time, and it's for you to decide what that really is or what it actually means.
And who stars in this? Anybody that we would know?
There are no stars, but there are really, really great actors. Yeah, it was obviously shot on a shoestring budget. It's kind of like a guerrilla style movie where, I mean, I imagine, I pictured the way they shot this film, because they shot it during the pandemic in New York. I could just see them just kind of like, running through the streets with handheld cameras, capturing whatever they could to make this movie. But yeah, it's I think God's time is like a metaphor pretty much for, the notion of karma, or what goes around comes around. That was my takeaway. But it's a very, very funny movie, very entertaining. And nicely packed at like something like 90 plus minutes. It's nice to see short movies,
Yeah.
every now and then.
Because sometimes you just want to watch a little something. You don't want to get into a 3-hour marathon, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me still?
You are freezing. No.
Oh, am I?
You sound like you sound like an AI.
I am Kim the chatbot, GPT Kim chatbot. Let's go to this one, if you can still see this, the My Happy Ending.
I could not understand a single word you said, and you are frozen on my screen.
Oh no, can you hear me now? No? Uh-oh. That's not good. Hopefully, let's see if I'll write to you in the little thing. Hopefully you can talk about this movie, My Happy Ending. Looks like he logged out and logged back in. Can you guys hear me in the chat okay? Maybe it was his connection instead of mine? Oh, okay, you can hear me fine. Good. Okay. Yeah, when he comes back, hopefully he'll be able to hear me. Sometimes he's got connection issues, and I'm not exactly sure why or what's happening with that. Let's see if we can bring him back in, and maybe it'll work out. Tim, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. People could still hear me in the chat, so they're thinking it was on your end. But while you can hear me, let me ask you about My Happy Ending.
Yeah, okay. This is a movie I liked a lot. It's a British comedy drama. It's based on an Israeli play, and it stars Andie MacDowell as a famous has-been actress, right, who's diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh.
And who finds herself kind of reluctantly in a group of 4 other women who are undergoing chemotherapy. So that's the premise. And it's mostly about the interactions of these women with each other, and the Andie MacDowell character's relationship to her publicist and friend, who's trying to sort of keep the actress's illness under, wraps, because they don't really want the public to know yet. But I think the movie is mostly like a polemic about the value of chemotherapy. Should you or shouldn't you, if you have cancer? Some people swear by it. Others prefer to avoid it at all costs. So there's that. And the movie itself, which is by turns funny, sad, it makes you think about life, your life, the fragility of life, which can literally be a kind of here today, gone tomorrow situation, which I'm experiencing more and more in my life. I think it's just, I'm seeing a lot of that. And I just think, it's aging, right? But it's a bit contrived, but it's entertaining enough. And the cast of women led by Andie MacDowell, they're all excellent. MacDowell especially. I mean, she's such a fine actress, and she looks as beautiful and glamorous as ever. Wasn't she like a Max Factor?
Yeah, was a model before she was an actress. Yeah. It's interesting.
Well,
we all
she's
have
very, very good in this.
We all have one of those actresses that we just absolutely can't stand, right? Someone where if they're in the movie, you just, for whatever reason, they turn you off and you're not interested in it at all. My husband can't stand Andie MacDowell. I don't mind her. I think she's great. That is
really?
It for him. Yeah. Do you have someone like that where like you just don't like anything they do? Did I put you on the spot with that?
I can, nobody comes to mind. Yeah, no. Actually, no, that's a good question. Nobody comes to mind. Diane Keaton used to rub me the wrong way. I always found her annoying until I saw her in a movie called Reds, where I just went, oh my God, this woman really is like an amazing actress. And then, now I find her compelling and funny and beautiful. And so it's funny how we change. But anyway, if you're in the bag for a comedy about cancer, with a powerhouse quartet of female performances, and a movie directed by 2 women. A lot of the movies that we're going to talk about have been directed by women. I mean, women are, finally, breaking into Hollywood as filmmakers, and it's about time, So That's
All
my
right.
happy ending.
My happy ending. Let's talk about this movie. I have seen it. As I scroll through, I haven't clicked on it yet, but it's Emily. Should I watch it?
I think you should. This is what I
Okay.
would call a kind of, it's like a speculative biographical movie. I don't know if that's actually a thing or a real genre, but it definitely describes this movie. Yeah, this is a great movie. It's about Emily Bronte and how she may have come to write her novel, Wuthering Heights. Now, naysayers may say that, well, most of what's depicted here is fiction, so forget it. But there's enough here about Emily Bronte, her sisters. She has two sisters, Charlotte and Anne, and her brother Branwell, that the movie as such, written and directed in the way which it's written and directed by another gal, an actress, Frances O'Connor, in her directorial film debut, it does achieve in its kind of conjectural manner a kind of emotional truth, which might conceivably explain maybe how Emily Bronte was able to tap into the characters and the zeitgeist situations which made the novel of Wuthering Heights so enduring and so popular and such a lasting classic. It's a period film, of course, right? And, you know, some
I
people, when they
wasn't
think,
sure.
oh, period film.
You can't
Yeah.
tell from the picture,
Well, a
though,
lot of
because it
times-
looks like it could be the modern day version, you know?
Well, it's interesting because when a lot of people think period, they think staid and stuffy. But this
Right.
movie is anything but. In fact, it's the opposite. It remains true to the period in time and place, early 19th century England. But at the same time, it feels bracingly modern, if that makes any sense. It's a
Right.
time and a place that doesn't feel remote or unreal, but rather immediate, with characters we can completely relate to with our 21st century sensibilities. Great acting in this movie, a brilliant lead performance by an actress named Emma McKay, or Emma Mackey. I don't know how, I don't know her work. It's the first time I've ever seen her. She plays Emily Bronte, and the supporting cast is equally great. It's impeccably written and directed by Frances O'Connor, who's got this masterful cinematic sense on a par with Scorsese or Spielberg or Kubrick. There are a number of visual set pieces in this movie which are breathtaking. They're totally earned in the advancing of the story it's telling. This may be the first great film of 2023. And I know that sounds like overkill and maybe overhyped, but it was compelling and I couldn't look away for a second.
What do you say age-wise? Is this for grown-ups or is this for everybody?
Oh, I would say it's an adult story. Yeah,
Okay.
It's an adult film. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you for that. Let's get to this movie because, and by the way, thank you for that because I will watch this movie. One of the great new best films now of 2023. You say? I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I'll stand by that too.
Let's go to this one, which even I might have to watch this. And I'm not a big fan of horror, but this is Cocaine Bear, and I'm shocked to find out it's based on reality. What?
Yeah. This is another movie directed by a very good actress, Elizabeth Banks, if you can believe that.
Wow.
She's making her feature film directorial debut. Yeah. And it's a black horror comedy. It's called Cocaine Bear. I mean, you've probably seen the trailers, right? I mean, they've been all over the place. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But the trailers are all over the place. And yeah, what you said, Kim, it's loosely based on the true story of this American black bear that ingested a duffel bag, they say, full of cocaine in 1985 in Tennessee. The cocaine had been dropped from an airplane by drug smugglers, one of whom, when he parachuted from the plane to presumably, retrieve the cocaine, died on the way down, or his parachute didn't open and he died upon impact with terra firma. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of this cocaine that was thrown off the plane wound up in the belly of this black bear. So that's the premise. And of course, it makes the bear in the movie insane and always wanting to go after people and tear them apart. Anyway, what looks super promising in the trailer for me turned out not to be as good as an entire film. The preview trailer is by no means misrepresentative, but the movie as a whole, it's not as good as the trailer. And for me, it was a mixed bag. Tonally, it was all over the place, for one. It worked best when it just stuck to black, sick, gross comedy. But it got boring when it, tried to be serious. And it was downright eye-rolling when it tried to be poignant. So it's probably going to wind up, regardless of what I say, it's probably going to wind up as a kind of cult classic because there's enough in it to
just
qualify
the name
for
alone, right?
Some of it is very funny. Yeah, some of it's stupid funny, and not all the laughs land, but enough do. I mean, and it's violent. Oh my God. I mean, the violence is really, really gross, and the way the bear, you know, consumes some of these people is really disgusting. I just wish it had gone full bore with the black and violent comedy tone. It would have been a much better movie. I think maybe the filmmakers probably thought, well, you know, maybe this is too much. Maybe we need to give some relief to the audience. So there were moments where it tried to be serious and it tried to be poignant. And I'm going, what is this? What movie did this come from? But anyway, I thought that was a mistake. It should have maintained the off the rails sensibility of the trailer and not let up for a second. Anyway, it's not a disreputable movie. As a black comedy, certainly it has its moments, but it's not entirely successful either, in my opinion.
Vilma writes, before we move on, Vilma writes, watching Emily when it streams. And Flo also says, Tim, my wife and I loved Ant-Man Quantumania. It's a wild ride for this particular film, but we want to try the bear movie. It's a real curiosity. Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear me still. Are you with me, Tim?
Yeah, you're fading out again, but I will say we did talk about Quantumania last week, and that's probably online, so Flo can avail herself of that.
I think that's why they
broadcast.
watched it, because they heard you talking about it.
Okay. Oh, great. Yeah. I thought it was great fun too. Yeah, I thought it was the best of the three Ant-Man movies. Yeah.
Let's talk about Jesus Revolution.
Jesus Revolution. Okay. It's a faith-based drama. So right from the get-go, that's either going to entice you to go and check it out or to skip it entirely. Right. It's based on this book of the same name. And it's about Greg Laurie, this youth minister, when the movie begins. He's played by Joel Courtney, and Pastor Chuck Smith. These are real guys. I mean, real evangelical preachers. Chuck Smith is played by Kelsey Grammer, which is interesting casting. And the movie.
Oh, no. I'll give you a second. See if you come back on. We can't hear you. Maybe you can do what you did last time, which is log off and log back on, so that we can maybe hear what you have to say about Jesus Revolution. Good. You heard me. So we'll have Tim log off and log back on as we continue our discussion about movies, because he's got a couple more. I'm really not done with him, and I really want to hear what he has to say as we continue talking about these movies. Oh. So let's see if we can hear him. Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, okay.
I don't know what we're getting weirdnesses here. You keep
it seems like your
away from
is
me.
good for like 7 minutes and then it's zapped. But so while I have you, let's talk about Jesus Revolution. Faith-based, huh? Oh.
Yeah. I don't know how much of what I said before you got, but it's about these two men. Well, it's about Greg Laurie and Chuck Smith. They're both evangelical preachers, but in the movie. It begins with Greg Laurie being a youth minister, and Pastor Chuck Smith is played by Kelsey Grammer, and it's about them taking part in the Jesus movement in California during the late 60s and early 70s. You know, the hippie movement of peace and love and flower power and Jesus saves, if you can open up your heart to him. And it's basically about the Christian hippie movement joining with the conservative evangelical faction of Christianity. And American charismatic evangelist and self-described seeing prophet Lonnie Frisbee. They made a great documentary about Lonnie Frisbee about 12 years ago. Anyway, he's also a character in this. But he's kind of shunted aside at one point so that the focus can remain on Greg Laurie and Chuck Smith. Now, as far as faith-based movies go, this is fine. It's well made. The acting's good. My problem with it is that what I found most interesting about these real life people, and the thing that made them interesting and nuanced characters and human beings, all of that is completely left out of this story. Greg Laurie, for one, became a proponent of the Joel Osteen style megachurch stuff. I mean, really into the money and all that.
Yeah.
And Pastor Chuck Smith became this apocalyptic minister, gloom, Armageddon stuff. While the hippie preacher Lonnie Frisbee's homosexuality is completely omitted from the story, right? Because none of this would jive with the religionists who prefer to only see what they want to see. So it's a kind of whitewashed version of events, the way, many religious, not all, some religious people in denial would like to believe. So it wasn't to my taste. It was like a Fox Channel produced version of, what it is they do. They tell their followers what they want to hear, as opposed to the whole picture. So I wasn't a fan at all. Although I have to admit, it all came in a pretty package. I mean, it looked good. It was well shot. The acting was good. So, if that's your jam, go for it.
Flo says Kelsey Grammer's politics may be questionable, but he really is a good actor whose work is underrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, he's Frasier is his big thing. But yeah, I mean, given more opportunities in film, I think he would really shine even more. Yeah, he is a fine actor. Totally agree. Yeah, very good. Very underrated.
Let's talk about Quiet Girl.
Wow, you asked about Emily being a family thing. I would recommend this for young kids, but with watching it with their parents. But this is one of the very best films of last year, Kim. It's based on this 2010 English novella by Clark Reid. Whoa, and it is just one of the most heartbreaking, heartfelt coming of age Irish dramas that I've ever seen. It's about a withdrawn 9-year-old girl who experiences this loving home for the first time when she's sent in the summer to a farm to live with distant relatives because her parents are neglectful. The environment is harsh. They're kind of unfeeling. They're impoverished, and the mother becomes pregnant again. So the family just wants a break. So they want to send this little girl off. Yeah, this is a great film. Simple. It's really great. It's a very straightforward drama. It's mostly in the Irish dialect. So thank goodness for subtitles. I mean, even though it's in English, it's got to be subtitled so you can understand what they're saying. But this is a beautifully, emotionally resonant, it's very sad tale about love. And I said sad, but it's not depressing sad. It's more beautiful sad. Very unsentimental, yet very moving, with every bit of its emotion earned by these genuinely authentic characters in a deeply human movie with nary a false or misnote at all. Great acting, great writing, craft is impeccable. The cinematography is gorgeous. It's delicately directed. Little girl, the actress that plays young Kate, Catherine Clinch, I think this is her film debut. She's stunning, this child. I mean, I defy anybody whose heart will not go out to this child after seeing this movie. And it's so, if you're in the market for a perfectly structured drama that packs an emotional wallop, then and an emotional wallop that you'll never forget, you have to see The Quiet Girl. It's amazing. It's just I don't know if I'm doing it justice. I'm trying to talk around the specific things that happen in the movie because, I mean, it's a movie to be discovered. And, it's one of the challenges and a lot of things critics take, gruff for is, even when they give something away, even when they don't think they're giving anything away, but sometimes that's the thing that kind of ruins it for people. So anyway, I'm not saying very much about what happens in this movie other than what I did. And it's really extremely worthwhile movie. A really beautiful film. It would be deserving. I mean, the nominees this year for Best International Feature, this is one of them. All 5 of them, I don't know how they're going to pick a winner this year because all 5 of them are of equal weight, but this one is really, really special.
I was reading something about this movie and it said, and I don't know the history of the Irish language being squashed down, but it said with this movie, the Irish language is back. that it becomes beautiful again, that it becomes celebrated again.
Yeah.
And so that the movie was made in that language is apparently something of note.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Well, yeah, that's really interesting that people are saying that, because yeah, it's almost the language itself is musical, if that makes any sense. It's a pleasure to hear people speaking in this beautiful language, and you get, I mean, if you didn't have the subtitles, you'd get every other word, so you really kind of need the subtitles. But it's kind of like opera. If you you can go into an opera and really not know what's going on, but you get caught up in the emotion and the way it's being sung and in the language, even though you don't speak it necessarily, it's still beautiful. Yeah, that's, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because that's all here in this movie. Absolutely.
So do you think watching it with subtitles but not dubbed is the way to go?
Yeah, no, because it actually, I mean, it's in Irish, but it's English too. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Did you see the Banshees of Inisherin?
My husband watched the Banshees of Inisherin. You're breaking up again, by the way. You might have to log out and log back in. But I walked by a couple times and it looked incredibly violent.
Yeah, it had it was, I would not call it a violent movie. There are some scenes of violence, but I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very funny. Again, that too, I mean, that was in the Irish dialect, but they spoke very fast, so I watched with my closed caption bit, so I didn't miss a thing. But yeah, see it if you haven't seen it. I think you'll like part of it at least.
Oh, you're breaking up big time. Can we have you log back out and log back in one last time so we can get to that last movie?
Sure. I will do that. Okay, I'm gonna try again.
Okay, one more time. Okay. I thank you to Tim for his patience with me. I just want to make sure you hear it. Sounds like so far he's really liking Emily, so I can get behind that, and he's really liking Quiet Girl. The whole Cocaine Bear, which I know we're all going to watch it anyway, probably, right? It's already a cult classic just because of the name. He's not a fan of it. He said it had a bunch of stuff where they could have just stuck to the stuff that that the trailer has and not gone off the deep end. So I think he thought this one was pretty good. If you're looking for this type of movie about a comedy about cancer, I don't know. And then this one, I think he said they did it well for what it was. So that's where we are. So let's bring him back now to talk about this movie. It's called Return to Seoul. Hi, Tim. Are you here with me?
Yes, I am. Are you with me?
Uh-oh, you're still breaking up. Let's try it. Let's see if you start talking it, maybe it gets a little bit better.
I Return to Seoul. This is Cambodia's official entry for the Best International Feature 2023. I think it was shortlisted. It's in French with English subtitles, and it's about this 25-year-old woman who returned to South Korea, hence the title. It's the first time where she's born or being adopted, and then leaves in France. She comes back to South Korea to find her biological family, and the character's name is Freddie. She's played by Ji Min Park, who is this plastic artist by trade.
You're breaking up so badly right now that I'm just gonna see if you can say I liked it or I didn't like it.
I loved it.
Okay. You loved Return to Seoul. I heard that loud and clear. Okay.
Yes. Okay, loved it. Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, we had this problem once before. I don't know. I'll have to check. See what the hell's on.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the good part is this week we got so much more information in from you, and you always are so thoughtful about how you review these movies and what you like about them. I love how you explain that, and that always appeals to me. So I think a lot of people are listening to you, and as they scroll through, they're remembering what you had to say. Like, oh, Tim said this and Tim said that. So thank you for your time today and for all these movie reviews. I so appreciate you, and I really look forward to talking to you every week, Tim.
Thank you, kids. We'll talk later.
Okay, bye. I'm sorry about the connection, you guys. We try to make it all happen, and sometimes the internet works with us, and sometimes the internet gods do not. And that apparently is the case today. But we did get a lot from Tim, and it was better than holding the phone up to the microphone, right? So he liked it. He loved it, he said. A Return to Seoul. He loved this movie, Quiet Girl, which I'm really interested in seeing now. Loved Emily. On Jesus Revolution, he said. Cocaine Bear, they could have done a lot of things better. They got Sanctimonious, he said. And My Happy Ending, he said it's good if you are interested in this type of movie where it's a comedy about cancer and looking at whether or not to do chemo or not to do chemo and that type of thing. So that's the movie reviews from Tim Sica for this week. And I can't thank you enough for sticking with me here on the Nikki Maduro Show as Nikki is on vacation. She will be back on Monday. Can't wait to hear about her trip to Southern California and how that drive down went and how it went in the weather down there this weekend. So again, our thanks to Steve Moskowitz, the founding sponsor of this show, 888 Tax Deal, moskowitzllp.com. Please click like, even if you're listening to the show, the recorded version later on. I would love for you to give us a thumbs up. YouTube likes it, and so it's somehow important. So, okay, click the thumbs up button. It helps us out. I appreciate that very much. Here's the Steve Moskowitz information if you need to see the website spelled out. If you would like to kick in to help support this crowd-funded show, we are on Patreon and PayPal. Check it out at thenickymaduroshow.com. And if you want your shirt, if you want your coffee cup, that Tim Sica so lovely sported in his picture, you can do that. The NikkiMaduroShop.com is the way to do it. So thank you for being here. I hope you have a really good weekend. If you don't have to drive, don't do it. That, according to the CHP. Stay safe and dry and warm, and always send me pictures if you have them of what you're seeing around the Bay Area and around California of this weather that is happening, because I would love to see what you're seeing where you are. We will see you Monday on the Mark Thompson Show from 10 to noon, and back here on the Nikki Maduro Show from noon to 2. Thank you for being here, and I will see if I can't get Jacob up to close out the show with the special song. Here he is.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.